Hey there, comic book fans. I'm back again this week with another book to look through. There's another book of comic book covers, action, mystery, thrills, comic book covers of the Golden Age, 1933 to 1945. First of all, the build quality on this book is terrible. It's a glued book and it's like falling apart immediately. I think I got this one used. I may. It's got a $30 price tag, and it's in no way, shape, or form a $30 book because it's just such a crappy build quality. But I don't even think I paid. I don't even remember what I paid for it, but it was probably closer to half that. Just because, like I said, I think it was used. It's got battered corners on it. But it's fun to look through, even if the pages are gonna fall out of it pretty soon because it's so terribly built. But it's mostly action, Fantagraphics one it is, and there's hardly any design in it. A little forward by Ty Templeton, and then we get to the covers themselves, and it's done in. Like, this isn't one of my favorite styles of doing it, because I believe they're all shot from the original comics. In that they took scans or photographs of the original comics and then cleaned them up as best they could. And in general, it's pretty good quality on most of them, as you can see. That red of Mickey Mouse is all replaced digitally, and that line, the black line, I can tell is all. They had a nice clean shot of that. But if you look over it here, the reproduction is not quite as good. See that brown in there? That's because they took that uneven brown. That's because they took a shot right from the comic. This one was easier to clean up because you could just. Magic wand all this red in Photoshop and replace it easily. Let's see some early funny stuff. And once again, you can really see in there how you see some dots going by. How that's the original comic reproduced. And I always kind of like. I would like to see the edges of the original comics, because when they reproduce things this way, as you can see, they made it full bleed, so it cuts off the edges, which means they had to trim a little bit off the image that they were producing. So I would actually like to see this a tiny bit smaller, where we can see that it's actually a comic. I prefer when they reproduce this way to see the comics as objects rather than the comics as sort of reproductions that aren't quite up to snuff. But here's some, this stuff is really early. And what's also a pain in the neck about this is there's no page numbers. And I mean, they could have put a page, because if you see here, they've got the whole image bleeding on three sides, but in the spine they could have put a page number in there, because in the back they give the credits. They give a little who did what. But you have to keep flipping back, and it doesn't even give it, without a page number. It's kind of like, oh, we have to find the picture. Oh, New Fun was by Clem Gretter, Walt Disney Studios. That's just credited to. Let's see, who did Wow Magazine? Oh, that's Will Eisner. So this is Will Eisner in where is it? Wow It's a Will Eisner painting. And so you kind of have to keep track and flip back and forth, and that gets to be a little bit of a pain when you're just thumbing through it. But it's also funny because I have never had a lot of Golden Age comics. I haven't seen a ton of them. Early Detective Comics #6. Oh, this one's actually signed Craig Flessel. Detective Picture Stories. Those ones are both nice, and you can see the black. The black fits in well when the comic is black, but it's still not as object. Still not as much of an object as I'd like to see it. But when I think of Golden Age comic covers, I always think of like the later Golden Age comic covers, like the Alex Schomburg stuff. that he did for Marvel with all the characters. These early ones look more like magazine or pulp covers that I've seen. These don't really say comic book to me, but then, this is what they looked like. Mystery Funny, early Action Comics, number 7. As you can see from that, let's get a close-up onto that. They did a pretty good job with the reproduction, but it gets a little muddy, the colors. You see the color is all speckled in that. That's because it's taken right from a comic book cover. But, the red isn't speckled at all in the Action Comics because they easily replaced that. So I'm not sure, what makes them replace. I guess it's all just time and effort. Like, that's a nice gradation there that reproduced nicely. I wonder how if they scanned, there's a little texture in it, but the reproduction varies from cover to cover, but most of it's pretty good. So these are all covers that I don't think of when I think of old comic book cover. I think of the Silver Age, because there weren't. Let me off this contraption. Yippee! There weren't a lot of word balloons in the Golden Age, on Golden Age covers. There were a lot of captions and a lot of floating text, and not a lot of hand-drawn. Like if you look at most of this stuff, this is typeset type. This is it's mechanical. Typeset type right there, more typeset type. There wasn't a lot of like that 60s and 70s hand-drawn type, which I think of when I think of comic book, typeset type all on here. Oh, I was just reading something about this, Wonder Comics. This guy where was I reading that? I can't remember, but he was too close to Superman, so they sued him and went out of business. The Wonder Comics only had a few issues, 1939. Marvel Mystery Comics. As you can see, they're getting a little later. When I think of Golden Age comics, I think more of these busy, chaotic compositions. I mean, that guy swooping in, explosions, stuff like that. Once again, all typeset type. Dick Tracy. Starring Shock Gibson, the Human Dynamo. Now, that's what Now, if you even look on that orange, light orange, they left that as it was. All those little dots are from the original cover. They just scanned it in. So it's like, that would have been easy to replace, but I guess they wanted to fit in with the rest of this here. So it's kind of interesting what they chose. So, all typeset type. That one's Leo Mori. This is what I think of too when I think of Golden Age comics, are these horror covers. And let's see, if we want to see who drew this, Wonder World comics, we got a flip in the back. We got let's see, we saw Gangbusters. Did we see Wonder World comics yet? Oh, there it is, Wonder World, Will Eisner and Lou Fine. Okay, I know those two, November 1939. So this is real early in comics, 1939. But I like the fact that they're all big covers. There's no pages of tiny ones except, Superman number 3, Marvel Mystery Comics. Once again, all typeset type, no hand type. Who did that Marvel Mystery Comics? Let's look that one up. Once again, we got a flip. Was it here we were? Oh, Marvel Mystery Comics. Will Eisner and Lou Fine again. Holy cow. I must like Will Eisner and Lou Fine because I keep looking up their comics. Lou Fine is, of course, we all know Will Eisner did The Spirit, and he was working in comics up until his death. Well, I don't even know when he died. The early 2000s? And Lou Fine was famous for his Golden Age comics, which were highly illustrative and very, very finely inked. Science comics, fantastic comics, pep comics. But look at all this, mechanical type. I never think of mechanical type when I think of Golden Age comics. I think of hand-lettered type, but it's not there. Hand-lettered type didn't come in till much later. Jumbo comics. Weird comic. What fun stuff. And also, giant logos. There was that. I think of that when I think of Golden Age comics. There's often giant logos with color behind them, as you can see here. You know, Planet, the logo was even more important in the Golden Age than in, you know, other times, I think. All right, I got interrupted there for a moment. The phone rang. Let's see, where was I? I was looking at these giant logos in comics. Look at how big those logos are. Wow, I mean, they really... The White Streak, funny pages. Lots of figures without backgrounds. Get plenty of those these days. Blue, Black, The Flame, Jumbo, Hit Comics. Wow. Is that another Will Eisner and Lou Fine one? Look how complicated that is. Let's see. Hit Comics. Where was he? Oh, man, looking back here. I don't think we got there yet. Mystic Comics, Jungle Comics. Did we see those? See, this is what the, oh, we saw that Superman. This is what the pain in the neck thing, oh, The Flame, we just saw that one. So where's Hit Comics? Hit Comics. Will Eisner and Lou Fine, what do you know? I guess if it's that illustrative, it's Will Eisner and Lou Fine. They're doing a great job with the drawing on that one. Red Raven, #1. I think that was a timely / Marvel one. I think I remember he came back in the 70s. Silver Streak, The Claw. Zip Comics. Blue Bolt. W.E. Rowland. That one's signed. So occasionally the artists signed their stuff. Heroic Comics, Crash Comics, Jungle Comics, Planet. This one, look at that purple dinosaur there. That's looking a little weird on his color. That's one they didn't fix up too much. So the quality can vary from cover to cover on a lot of these Golden Age reprints. Oh, look. I see thread in the middle there. This must be sewn as well as terribly glued. As you can see, the glue falling off there. This crazy binding. Well, at least it opens flat too, so you can see the comics themselves. It may not be the best book feel in your hand. The Green Hornet. Oh, here we go again. The phone rang a second time doing this video. Usually I don't get interrupted. Now I'm going to have to piece this video together. Luckily I keep QuickTime 7 on my computer, which is about 10 years old, but it's easy to cut and paste video together in it. Hit Comics, Crackerjack Funnies. I mean, look at all that. This is just beautiful stuff. Once again, all mechanical type. Wow, look at the fancy design on that one. There's a lot of design that goes into these Golden Age comics in terms of the logos and the type and everything. I would say there's more design in these than a lot of modern comics. Let's see. Ooh, Fight Comics. Let's see. Is that another Eisner and Lou Fine? Let's see. Let's look up that one. Fight Comics. No, that's Dan Zolnerwich, just February 1941. Wow, I don't even know him. And John Cilardo, May 1941 here. See that? There's so many names I don't even know. A little Batman, a little Human Torch, a little Alex Schomburg action. Amazing Man, Silver Streak. Daredevil battles Hitler. That's a famous one. Hit Comics, but look at all the work that went into these. All the chaotic compositions like nothing you've ever seen. Just oh man, lots of swirling, lots of swooping stuff you don't see anymore. Even Battles has got little explosions coming out of that logo. Planet Comics, wow. There's just Captain Marvel Adventures, Shazam, Uncle Sam, Mystic, the Destroyer. Oh, I remember reading, they brought him back in the 70s in The Invaders. I remember reading that now. The Destroyer. Scoop Comics. Bullet Man, the Human Bullet. I remember that toy commercial from the 70s. It was a G.I. Joe, I think. The big G.I. Joes, not those tiny little ones everyone younger than me loves, but everybody my age goes, those tiny little G.I. Joes, they're not the real G.I. Joes. Daredevil, the greatest name in comics, the Hangman. When I was a kid, I read an issue of Werewolf by Night that starred someone called the Hangman that always freaked me out a little bit, because all the Hangman did was put a noose around the werewolf and constantly hang him from light posts. That was kind of disturbing. Green Hornet, Donald Duck. Who is Airboy? Some more. That might be the first hand-drawn type I've seen. That might be a little more hand-drawn type in military. Just lots and lots. Oh, look at that one. Classic Comics Arabian Nights. Very Arabian feel to that one. Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. Lots of mechanical type in that one. But like I said, the compositions in these really, they're just so complex and chaotic. They're much more chaotic. Look at that. They're much more chaotic than comic compositions from the Silver Age, the Bronze Age. I mean, there's just things going on everywhere. And so this is another Schomburg one, I think. Monsters just shooting at them from every direction. Chains hanging down. 5,000 pounds of... It's just the organized chaos in these is something. But wow, I don't think we have many left, because we got all these little ones. Some Bugs Bunny, some Little Lulu. Look at that one. Wow. So there's a little look at some Green Llama. He's famous. Little look at some the Black Terror, the Fighting Yank. They're both famous. I know those. Some Golden Age stuff. Oh, that Punch Comics cover. Who did that one? That one's famous. Oh, there's a Riggy? Let's see. Who did Punch Comics? That one's famous. I've seen that one reproduced a lot. Where is Punch Comics? Once again, it's a pain in the neck to find them. Come on, Punch Comics. Where are you? Oh, there's Black Terror. So, Punch. Gus Rika. Punch Comics number 9, July 1944. Well, we'll end on that one. Poor Guy Rika getting his head smashed by his own creations. Well, there you go. Little look at action, mystery, thrills, comic book covers of the Golden Age. And you guys all have a good week out there.